What's up, everybody? Welcome, welcome. We are ready to rock. Got some folks coming on. Good to see you all. I am here with my beautiful wife, who is rocking an echo. What's up, Amy? There's Amy, newly certified TOA. Amy, good to see you. We got Janine on here, Crystal, Jerry, Keegan. Elsie, what's up, Elsie? Let's see, we're going to promote you over to the panelist. And we are going to make sure the chat is available for everyone. There we go. All right, everybody, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. If you can open up the chat and give a little hello, let us know where you're joining from. And if you have any questions coming into this, just seeing the title, you have any questions right now, I want you to throw them in there, pretty please. And Keeg is going to make sure if I don't answer it throughout the webinar, that we will come back to it and answer later on. There's Martha and Nance. What's that? Heidi's in a snowstorm. Nice. Susan, Tracy, Sue. Look at everybody we got on here. Nice. There's Heidi. What's up, Heidi? Good to see you. Yeah, that's our Martha, right? Fairfield, yep. You're our Martha now that you're part of the family. You sure are, Amy. You're the newest member. Yeah, we're happy to have you. Amy just passed her exam yesterday, Tuesday? What day is it? Yeah, Tuesday. All right, team. Well, let's dive in here. Yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I got a lot to say today, so we are going to get rolling. Yeah, any questions for Keegan? I did not prepare very well and make sure both my mics were battery charged. So we are on a single mic today, but if Keeg has something to say, she'll just have to come over and cuddle next to me while we go through that. I am going to go ahead and get rolling. Welcome to our discussion here today is about how to get strong, stay strong, and avoid injury. We have a lot to cover because I want to give you as much as I can in this hour together. We might go a little bit over if you have time. And the whole intention of this presentation is to make sure that you walk away with some intentions, knowing that not everybody on here is a trainer. We invited everyone onto this. So we have clients and friends of clients and family members and everybody on here. I won't spend too long talking about who I am, but just to give you a little bit of a background on me. Starting back in 2000, I got certified, and then in 2004 started to really focus as a full-time career. By 2009, I was targeting all my business towards working with older populations. And come 2014, we branched out, opened our own facility, and that was up and running until November of 2020. Everybody remembers what happened then through COVID. We made it 9 months out of that year before we had to eventually close our doors and kind of reinvent what we do. Went online and opened our education program into a full-time effort. And here we are today. And maybe one of those serendipitous kind of things where it was pretty miserable while it was happening, but has turned out very much so to be a great opportunity for Keegan and I to kind of reinvent how we do business and share with everybody. And we get to do it right here from the house. Like literally, here's Keeg, right? So she's sitting there, and there's our Fit Body wall, and then there's the door into the house. So it's right there. You know, we're in the house here. It's all in the bunker, and there's whiskey running around. So also currently the director of education with Fit Body Boot Camp. I've been working with them the last 4+ years. So very excited to be on there. This is my team. This is my family. They're our beautiful daughters, Peyton and Bristol. They are 12 and 8. And that's Keeg, the lead Viking there, in our Vikings costumes from Halloween. We won the Halloween costume down here in El Dorado County. We are the county champions. I'm going to say that. It was the only competition. So sure, we'll go with that. And then there's my sister and my brother-in-law, Renee and Amanda, there in the center. And that's our team, man. That's why we do what we do, is to make sure that as I get to work with all of you, knowing that you're members of a team as well, knowing what we were able to do with my dad and other family members, my in-laws right now, and helping them stay here longer and be more capable and able. We know that all of you are members of a team as well. There's a whole long history about me and all my injuries. And basically, I was a pretty decent hammer thrower back in the day. And this is my best throw ever right here. That went 212 feet, and I needed 213 feet to qualify for the Olympic trial competition team, and missed it by a foot, and trained really hard for the next 2 years. And when I went to open up my 2008 season, I blew up my back, and a couple of months later found out that I had a tumor in my lung, and then a couple months later had a tumor in my thyroid, and then a couple of years later had to have arthroscopies on my hips, and a couple of months later had to have replacements, and then one of those replacements dislocated, and I've had all kinds of different shoulder issues and hernias and all this. I tell you not to impress you, but to impress upon you. I steal a line from Tony Robbins: how life happens for you, not to you. And we very much so embrace that. All those experiences, plus a rather obsessive mindset of wanting to learn the most efficient and most effective ways of training, is what brings this presentation together today for you. We have 3 strategies that we're going to get into. The first one is getting strong. How do we go about doing that? What are some of the best things to do? What are we combating right from the get-go? We will dive into just a quick description of sarcopenia, and then we'll get to the good stuff, like what do we really need to focus on? And if you need to find someone to help you do that, I really encourage you head to our website, trainingtheolderadult.com, and go to our affiliate and or ambassador map, and be able to find our coaches and our trainers that are all over the country and North America. Then we'll get into stay strong, how to maintain a consistent level of activity and strength. And we will talk about zone 2 training and cardio. And where we're really going to probably invest most of our time there is in rucking, which is loaded walking, backpacks, or a vest. We really encourage the backpack when we do this. So we'll dive into that. And then we're going to talk about avoiding injury at all costs, like anything and everything that you can do to not fall down, to not get hurt, to not have any ruptures or injuries, to try. And I know that's easier said than done, but when you make something TOMA, top of mind awareness, and you continue to focus and think about those things, you will aid in your ability to make that a success, because you're continually thinking about it. It's when our balance and our coordination and our mind gets stuck on the conversation or the song or whatever it is, that the third or fourth or fifth most important thing is what's under my feet right now, and down we go. And so we will kind of discuss some strategies to help you through that. A quick definition of sarcopenia is the loss of muscle mass and function. That's what you'll find on the internet or in most dictionaries. We add in the additional part of due to severe deconditioning in aging bodies, which means there are plenty of folks out there who have resistance trained their entire lives, all the way through 80, 90 years old, and never become sarcopenic. Yes, you will get weaker. You won't be able to carry as much muscle mass. Already now, in my 40s, I'm not as muscular or as strong as I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and the body starts to adapt or adjust. You can definitely, make some really good gains at any point. If you're 77 years old, you've never lifted weights in your life, you can make great gains and go from maybe being in a wheelchair or on a walker to being completely independent and walking and tall, and make huge improvements in a couple of years. You just really have to apply yourself. So to say that this is a definition of a disease that was declared a disease by the CDC in 2016, that it's going to happen to any aging body, is incorrect. If we take the right action steps early in life or even later in life, but progressively and appropriately, you can work your way out of being sarcopenic and eventually to stay muscularly strong and capable. In many folks that do get sarcopenia, that's often and almost always accompanied with osteopenia, which is the softening of your bones, and then that usually leads to full osteoporosis, which is the brittleness of your bones. And those two, unfortunately, create like the ultimate opportunity for injury. And really what kind of brings us all to this is we want to keep you strong enough to not hit the ground. And if you do hit the ground, you have enough meat and density of your body that you don't break, because we know how severe falls are. All the research really supports two things. Deconditioned individuals at age 40 start to see a drastic drop off in bone density and muscle mass and ability. And then another one at age 70. They're two massive drops, but the one at 70, as Peter Attia claims it, is like falling off a cliff. They go from capable and able to not capable and not able really, really quick. And that's what we really want to arm you with, is information to avoid that from happening. Deconditioning can begin with just poor posture in your 40s. And then people into their age of 60 or into their seventh decade of life, between 5 and 13% will start to experience full sarcopenic, which means they can't stand up as straight, they can't lift as heavy as they once could, or someone their average age should be able to. Their walking gait is poor, etc. And then when you get into 70s and 80s, boy, it really picks up. And these, again, are estimates, 11 to 50%, so nearly half the population by the time they're 80 years old will be sarcopenic. Those living in communities, older adult communities, are again between 25, 26%, and 50%. These are, again, big estimates. And the scary part of all those estimates is those are all pre-pandemic numbers. We would typically get new numbers every 3 years, and since the pandemic, no numbers have been released. It's like they have discontinued providing that information out to the public, because I think it's drastic. I think it's a severe increase in those numbers, making everybody, quote unquote, doing the 2-week stay at home, and all of that kind of branching on to months and then years eventually has really caused a lot of damage. Now you can see what we'll call the disability threshold is that orange line in the top right grid. That disability threshold is basically a point where you are now dependent on a device or another individual to help take care of you. And if you are deconditioned and you never really do anything in your life to improve your strength and your ability, you're probably going to hit that right around age 60. If you do just a little bit of activity and you walk around, you carry your own groceries, all that kind of stuff, you'll be the black line. It'll probably be around 65, 70 years old, you'll hit it. And then if you are active somewhat and you play a little golf here and there and you lift some weights on occasion, then you'll be the yellow line. You'll probably get to 75, maybe even 80 before you hit it. And then ideally, you're the gray line, and that means you've been active and you got some good strong muscle mass and bone density, and you're active every single day. And hopefully you just never get to that line. You stay independent all the way up to your last day. And or if you do get there, it's not until your late 90s, 100 years old. And hopefully at that time you're still quite capable. Might just need a walker or a cane or something along those lines. And we will see very similar numbers with bone density. Right around 40, bone density will max out and start to decrease. And then there's that 65 to 70 right around there. You see a big drop for the ladies. You're now postmenopausal. And so we see a huge drop in bone density. Gentlemen start to lose it just gradually as we start to age as well. And then ladies, it starts to get a little bit more severe as we go. So just wanted to set the table with you there and to show you there's plenty of research to support this. This is that 14-day stay-at-home study. I reference this often, but individuals that were requested to stay in their apartment, going from 6,000 steps a day down to 1,500. They had a 75% reduction in how active they were, lost 4% of their fat-free body mass, that's their muscle mass, an 8% reduction in strength, and a 6% reduction in power. And they attempted to rebuild all that was lost in 2 weeks. In the next 2 weeks, zero return, like nothing changed. It took 6 months to build back what was lost in 2 weeks. And there was a secondary study done at another facility there on the right. You can see very, very similar numbers as early as 10 days, becoming early onset of sarcopenia. So now that we know the problem, what do we do to combat that? Daily life basically consists of sitting down, standing up. Typically, you properly pick something up, ideally, properly pick something up as opposed to rounding over, bending over. And then you will reach over your head and you'll either push or press or pull from overhead. And then you'll go up and down stairs, and maybe you get up and down off the floor and you carry heavy things back and forth. Heavy things being a purse or a pair of shoes or a toolbox and a bag of groceries or whatever it might be. And so your fitness should basically reflect that. And that's what we mirror in our program. Is if we do sit to stands, we do squats, and if we properly hinge, we do hinges or RDLs or kettlebell swings or rack pulls and so on. And so we want the mirrored component of life to be trained in the weight room, but we also want to prepare ourselves for the things that we maybe don't do all that often, but that can come about. And that's going to become part of this discussion. Is you can't train for a dog to come running at you with a leash that got away from someone, and you've got to be agile and quick and keep them away from your knees and not get wrapped up and dropped. but we can do lateral slides, and we can do forward and back shuffles, and we can do high-low steps, and we can do different activities that prepare you to be able to move like that, even though it's an unpredictable situation, okay? So kind of keep that in mind. Those are the movement patterns we want to focus on, but which ones really give you the best return and what style of training? Now, this is really where the coach comes in, and I'm not going to go too deep into this. I just want to give you an idea. What you're shooting for, sit to stands, something where you're pulling or rowing weights towards you, and then something where you're carrying heavy load. So we say hinges, pulls, and carries are really where you have the greatest effect. Other areas of training you can have are overhead actions, presses, and then proper hinges, and then your split stance, and then complexes like snatches or clean and jerks, push presses, slams, throws, tosses. All of this stuff would come later. But in the very beginning, if you could simply practice sitting down and standing up, pulling something towards you and carrying weights back and forth, you can make great, great gains. And I wanted to show you a couple videos of some of our clients, and these are a little more instructional for you as we go along, is to showcase some of the abilities of our clients as they work their way through cancer survivors and hip replacements and shoulders and actions and activities that we see that even though at 83, 84 years old, right, still pulling 35 pounds off the ground on sit to stands, rep number 8 before she gets out of alignment, right? These are simple actions, but can be done in really great ways. And then again, proper hinges with different varied loads, with sit downs and pickups. Some of our clients here, cancer survivors, some that are no longer with us, that lived longer because they got themselves strong and increased their quality of life, increased their length of life out by months, if not a year or so, there with Janie in reference to that. Okay, and then rows, when we look at different row variations from single arms to what we would call a gardener row. You might be out in the garden and you got to brace your arm against your thigh and create your own bench, or if you have a bench in front of you, you know, as Coach Q is doing there, showcasing some of the rowing actions that we do. Here's Janine, mother-in-law, and Gary, not a couple, just workout partners on occasion, and doing some overhead rows and some horizontal rows, right? Different angles that you can pull from. A lot of our clients that have frozen shoulders will experience an increase in range of motion by pulling from overhead as opposed to trying to press overhead. If you do have a frozen shoulder, it's very detrimental for you to continue pressing overhead if you can't get your arms to 180 degrees. So that's something that you want to be able to improve and work on. And then our dynamic lifts, more power-based movements. Here's mother-in-law Janine working on snatches. She's trying to move this 18-pound fat bell as quickly as she can, heaving that weight over her head, tossing that weight over her head. That explosive nature is an opportunity to make her musculature activate really dynamically, really explosively. And that's what we want. That's what we want from our aging bodies, is with a fist bump. Booyah. Good job. Excuse me. That's what we really want to focus on, is can we ask our type 2 muscle fibers to contract really, really quickly when the moment occurs? When you step on your shoelace, when you trip over the dog, when you hit an electrical cord, and you've got to take that really quick dynamic step. Do your muscles know what it's like to explosively contract and throw your foot out in front and try to rescue your body from falling forward at full speed? Well, if you never train at full speed, you're really not going to know how to do that. And in some cases, your body can break when you're doing that. Unfortunately, I trained a lady a little too late in her career with me. She was at a country club that I was training at, and every day I would walk by and I'd wave. She was on the treadmill. She would wave. We always had niceties, would say hello, good morning, that kind of thing, but I didn't train her. And I saw her in the parking lot one day. She was talking to her friend. She went to step up onto the curb, missed the curb, and took a really dynamic, quick step, snapped her ankle. She didn't even fall on the ground. She just took this really explosive step and then slammed her foot into the ground, trying to rescue herself from falling down, snapped her ankle. And I saw her a couple of weeks later and on the bike, now in a cast, recovering her leg and trying to get some cardio in. And the first thing she said is, I need to come and see you. And I was able to train her for the next couple of years to help her increase her bone density and her muscle mass and get herself strong, you know, get her ready for impact opportunities like that. And so we start small. We start with the hinges and the sit to stands and the rows, and we start there. But eventually we want to build up to doing some things that are a little more explosive, a little more dynamic. And that's where you'll see my dad in the early stages of learning how to do this. Transitioning load, moving that weight back and forth, properly picking something up. But you can see how he staggers a bit and his gait's a little wobbly, and he's taking pretty good steps there. That's pretty solid. And as he progressed, a couple, maybe 4 or 5 weeks later, bigger kickstand, a faster tempo, more ground being covered, right? And he's listening for cues that I'm giving him when I tell him to stop, which hand to pick up with. So he doesn't really know what's coming. He's waiting for all these cues as we go through these. And these are great drills for us to practice. So you can see some really good gains, stop and go, and proper put down and proper pickup, and just transitioning him through different actions like that. And then we work all the way into our gait improvements via the tank. Actually, let me show you this one first. This was Joyce and Dave, one of our very first days working together. I wanted to get video of them where they didn't know, sorry, whiskey's barking, where they didn't know I was recording them, because that's when you kind of see the real natural actions and the natural gait that people produce. And this is how they walked. Notice Joyce, arms out to the side, fingers fixed and locked. She uses her arms like a wire walker would use their arms to help them balance. And Dave, even beyond that, doesn't really use the arms, just kind of lumbers from side to side and walks more like a wind-up toy. And those legs that would basically just kind of one over the other, the second he gets out of balance, it's over with. He would go down really, really quickly.
Do you know somebody else who walks like a wind-up toy?
I do know a couple of people that walk like a wind-up toy. We have a couple in our circle of life. And yes, attempting to try to get some of them to improve. I'm a little robotic in my hips as well, and I've been working on becoming a little more dynamic, I guess I would say, and flexible. But yeah, I'm a little stiff. But I have a good long gait, and I've got good posture, mostly because I have to. I don't have the option to go any other way. My back is ruined if it does. So how do we improve it? This is the tank, which I love, is basically just a really athletic loaded walker. And we're able to push this tank, work a bigger gait length. That's how long your step is. And that's going to be a really key part of what we'll discuss here today too, is improving your posture, improving your gait. The longer steps that you take, actually the better that you are. Keegan's going to get up and walk around here a little bit behind me while we talk about this. And something to think about is if you just walk back and forth like a creeper in the background. Thanks, babe. When you walk about, if you take really small little wobbly steps, okay, take those small little wobbly steps, babe. Yep, and come around so they can see you. There you go. Okay, small little wobbly steps like this. These small steps, if I ask somebody older, why do you walk like that? They would say, because I'm afraid of falling down, right? Well, why does 40-year-old Keegan, why does 40-year-old Keegan not walk like that? Show us your regulars. Yeah, see, I mean, she's got a little pep in her step, and she's covering. If you watch her walk, normally, she's got at least one of her foot lengths in between her 2 feet. And that gait is a natural gait that you can maintain your entire life if you stay strong and if you practice it. Thanks, babe. And so that's what we want. We want you to have this long gait. Well, as you get older, we get kyphotic. We start curving over. And all of our muscles get really tight because we don't train them anymore. We're seated all the time. So basically your body starts to see. Your head goes forward, your abs come forward, your thoracic spine starts to curve and pop out. That's a kyphotic curve. You start to get like a little hump on the back of the neck. Tight hamstrings, tight hip flexors, tight quads, pulls your tailbone and butt underneath you. So you can't really take longer steps anymore. You've deconditioned. You've withered your body away from this triangular base down all the way to this little wind-up toy with the feet. That's all we can do because you're literally not capable of taking big steps anymore. So if I just said to this older person, just start taking longer steps, they can't. They physically cannot do it. If they try, they'll lose their balance and fall over. So that's where the loaded carries, the tank, these variations where we have something to support us, the tank, the sled, etc., while we practice longer steps. And we push and we drive into that weight and we get stronger while practicing longer steps, while working true hip extension, knee extension, ankle extension. You improve your ankle's ability, your Achilles' ability to handle pressure of quick ground contacts. And so this keeps us from blowing apart our Achilles or tearing our ACL when something dynamic happens. And that's where you would progress into snatches, cleans, swings, slams, right? Some of these lifts that are more dynamic. And you can use kettlebells or you can use slam bells Even at home, you'll see Anna up top. This is a video of, excuse me, a video of my television screen of Anna doing swings at home with her kettlebell collection. And you saw the video of Janine doing the snatches earlier and how quickly we are moving that weight. That's where we're progressing to. And again, we don't want to do that right from the get-go, but that is something that we want to pursue eventually as you build a really good base. The stronger you get, the better your gait will get, the better your posture will get, the more likely you will be to stay upright. So I can feel this cold coming on, so I apologize for throat clears. It hit me last night. I struggled through the night. Feel okay, just I don't sound very good, so apologies on that. Goals here, wrapping up this first little section. This is probably the biggest one, so the others will go a little faster. Is 3 days a week of either resistance training, TOA, Fit Body Forever, like wherever you're training at, whoever you're working with. We do a good job because I know the programmer, it's me, and we know that we're programming what I just suggested, right? Outside of that, whoever you're working with, I hope they have some education as to prioritizing these things. And if they don't, bring them this presentation and just say, hey, I saw this presentation, wanted to share it with you, and kind of leave it at that. Hopefully we connect and give them some good direction. You want to do at least 30 minutes every day activity. We're going to talk about that in the next section. And it's zone 2 effort is what you're looking for, which is double your resting heart rate. So right now we're all sitting here and our hearts are beating at 50 to 55 beats per minute. So if we double that, 100 to 110 beats would be right around your middle zone 2. And if you're lifting weights and you're in that zone, if you're Keegan, your resting heart rate's like 30. As soon as she starts to exercise, it goes to 150. She's low when she's low. She's super high when she's high, right? The schnozberries taste like schnozberries. She's super high. Get it? Anyway. You like that one, didn't you? The zone 2 target is kind of a point like this where you're like, hey, we're doing really good. This is a great workout. I'm having a good time. How are you doing? Like, we can have a conversation, but it's a little broken and you can hear that gasp of breath. That's zone 2. You're just teetering into zone 3 where you can still talk, but I don't want to talk at that point. Zone 2 is perfect. It's the ideal zone where you are maximizing potential for all things we're pursuing at this time. Cardiovascular health, check. Maintaining muscular strength, which means if you work at too high of an intensity, your body wants to burn away, real simply put, okay? Your body wants to burn away the best fuel it has available, and that is muscle mass, protein, amino acid, before it'll pick up body fat. But if you work at a lower intensity for a longer period of time, it'll say, well, we don't need that really high quality stuff. Give me some of the other stuff, and that's where more adipose tissue, body fat will be burned away. So we're going to preserve your muscle mass, maybe not build it necessarily in cardiovascular efforts like rucking, but when we're lifting, we're definitely in zone 2. So you're either maintaining while doing cardio or building muscle mass in zone 2, burning away some body fat, and improving your cardiovascular health. Those are the 3 things that we prioritize the most. Let's get strong, let's take care of our heart and our lungs, and let's not let our body fat get too high. And so zone 2 accomplishes all of those. These are real life movement focuses, like we talked about the hinge, the row, the carry are the big 3. And then you do need progressive overload. A lot of the concerns out there of, if I lift too heavy, I'm going to get hurt. I'll just use lighter weight and I'll do more reps. You're going to get hurt doing that too. It's just an itis injury now. Some type of bursitis, tendonitis, arthritis. It's an overuse injury that because you chose less load and more repetitions, thinking you wouldn't get hurt, you just use and abuse the joints now. And now you've still come away with the same thing you were concerned about. I don't want an injury, just a different variety. So really, we want the Goldilocks approach. I want the most appropriate load and the safest amount of reps and sets and tempos. And that's our job as the coaches, is to deliver that. And you want to enjoy active recovery days. That doesn't mean you get to just sit around and watch Netflix and hang out. We want to eat well and sleep well and do all these other things. But on active recovery days, we're just not going to lift weights. We're going to do something else. And that leads us right into our second strategy, is how are we going to stay strong? We're going to get strong. We got a good plan for that. We're going to pursue it. It's probably going to take you 3 to 6 months before you say, like, I have life-altering strength right now that truly improves my quality of life, that has changed my quality of life to a point where I can feel my posture's better. I'm not gasping for breath when I carry in the groceries. If I have to, carry boxes in that UPS dropped off, I'm not wasted and exhausted and getting dizzy. Like I can just carry in and I'm good to go. We had a client yesterday telling us about how they were moving their daughter into college, and all the parents are there at the same time to move their kids into the dorms. And the mom and the dad, they were like, we were running laps around these other parents. Like we would get 3 ups and downs with stuff before they would get one done. And they were just wasted on the stairs. They actually helped other people because they were in such good condition, right? That's what we're talking about, is you'll see a change like that in your quality of life and your ability in life, probably 3 to 6 months in. Now that we're there, how do we keep doing that and maybe start to improve our cardiovascular health a little bit? I want you to remember some of these minimum standard goals that we're shooting for. 225 minutes per week. That came direct from the CDC, okay? Which leads you to about 32 minutes a day is what you're going to average. I'm going to give you a plan here on this next one. You're going to be like, that's way more than 32 minutes. Let me explain before we start to go. I'm not ready to commit to that, okay? You don't have to lift weights every day. You just got to be active every day. You got to do something, get up and go do something. Even when you're like, it's been a hard week, I've done 6 days in a row, I can just sit around and watch football all day Sunday. Still want you to get up and do mobilities and move around and play with the dog or the grandkids or whatever it is. Still be active. You're going to do this year round. This is you now. You are an active individual. Even when you go on vacation, you're going to find a gym or a place to work out. Even on Christmas break, you're going to find a gym or a place to work out. And if you didn't sleep well, what are you going to do? You're going to find a gym and you're going to work out, because you're probably going to make yourself tired enough to sleep really good that night. Where if you just say, I'm tired, I'm just going to lay here, I don't feel it. Nobody ever regretted the workout that they chose to do once it was done. I mean, barring some catastrophic injury, right? Nobody ever started feeling terrible and then got done and went, I regret doing this. I feel so good now, right? All my endorphins are going and I've got all this great energy and I feel full of life and I have the lifters high and I feel amazing. I regret doing this. Nobody feels that. There's a couple of exceptions. But even if you feel sick, like I did not feel great, I did not sleep well, but still going to do my workout. And we kind of call that from the neck up. If you have head cold, head cold, it's all in my head, stuffy, exercise. It's going to help you get all that out. But from the chest down, probably not so much. Definitely from the belly button down, don't work out. It's going to end bad for probably everybody. Just take the day off. You're okay. Let your body recover. Your immune system is down. It's telling you in more ways than one. You have a fever, and then you got both ends working, and it's like, let's just call it there. Let's just let's keep our wits about us. We don't need any more ego damaging moments in the gym and everybody to know who we are. Hey, you're the guy that yes, I am. Right? If you feel that you have an injury or you've experienced a serious injury, obviously, yes, you need to take some days to recover, but you also want to get back rehabilitating as quickly as you can. I had a client with a knee replacement, and 10 days is our minimum that you have to clear protocol where you're not going to have a blood clot, something like that. 10 days, she got up here, drove up. It was her non-driving knee, pulled up in front. I helped her get out of the car, walked her in here, sat her down. We did a full upper body workout with her leg just propped up on the bench. But she felt great. She loved it, right? We need to increase blood flow. We need to keep the upper body strength because she's going to be on a walker. She's going to be on crutches. She's going to be on a cane. And then eventually she's going to be on nothing. She's going to be completely independent in doing this. And that's the plan. Or if you've had surgery, obviously you've got to wait for your doctor's approval, that kind of thing. But that plan is majority of the time, no matter what is going on in life, I need to exercise. And pretty soon when you start implementing that, the days that you don't exercise, you don't feel good. And you're like, man, I thought I really needed a rest day. And at the end of that day, you're like, I'm restless. My legs ache. My body kind of hurts because you didn't move, because your body got so used to doing something every day. It looks forward to that. And now the day that you didn't feed it, right? You must feed me to stop. If you don't feed me, I'm not going to be able to relax. I'm not going to be able to relax and shut it off because I have no reason to be tired. And so that's where a plan like this is really good for us to look at. Sundays, get up, do a mobility routine. Just basic mobilities, 3-step hinge and hold, some lunge and reach, the band routine, some mini band work, get your hips fired up, some half kneeling windmills, some bridges, that kind of stuff. 10 minutes of mobility work. And then go play recreational sports. If you're a golfer, if you play tennis, if you like pickleball, like whatever, go do that. And there's 70 to 90 minutes right there, okay? And then on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're lifting weights, resistance training, 30 to 40 minutes. It can be more, but that would be the bare minimum, right? We want 32 is our goal for every day, but 30 to 40 minutes, mind you, you've got 10 minutes of mobility to work to do before that. So we're going to be somewhere between 40 and 50 minutes on each of those days. Tuesday, Thursdays, we're going to go out for our cardiovascular zone 2 training, rucking. We'll talk about that in a moment. And ideally 30 to 40 minutes, maybe even more. These can turn into longer bouts for sure. And then on Wednesday, we're throwing in another sport recreation day. Maybe you go golfing on Wednesdays and you play tennis on Sundays or whatever it is, right? And then Saturdays, we've got some more mobility and another cardio day. And so you've got 3 days of lifting, 3 days of cardio, more or less. Again, zone 2 cardio. We'll talk about my favorite option. And then a couple of days of being active. We're at the absolute most. Wednesday is going to be a real tough day where you're going to lift, you're going to warm up, you're going to lift, and then maybe go play some sport that day. And Sundays is going to be kind of a higher day, 70 to 90 minutes. All the rest of them, 40 to 45, 50 minutes at the most. This can be Sunday recreation can be gardening, can be mowing your lawn, right? It can be clearing out the gutters. It can be construction work. It can be whatever you're building. Just be active is my point. You don't have to go play sports. I'm just giving you examples of being active, right? Getting out there and doing. And my favorite this guy right here. Take a look at this. So this is the top of the mountain. This was my reward for my ruck that day. I did about 6 miles, and look at that view. This is the beauty of being outside. You get to experience great energy. If you go with friends, companions, your dog, whatever it is. This was a little video back to my wife, letting her know I'd made it to the top and I would be home soon. And this was the reward. You know, you put in miles, you go out, you get a backpack on, you wear a vest, something like that, and you get out and you go and enjoy the outdoors. You get on most days some sun exposure, right? And then when you're done, you take your shoes off and you ground a little bit and you hang out in the yard and you relax and you cool down and you think, could that really do a lot of good for me? Of course, the cardiovascular component of it will do good for you, but why wear the weight? Why wear this? It comes from a military origin, a military background of rucking. If you were to take just 5 pounds, okay, we take a 5-pound plate, wrap it up in a big towel, stuff it in your backpack, your JanSport backpack from high school, put that on and go for a walk a mile. That's 5,280 feet that you're going to cover. The average person takes about 3-foot steps. So that's right around 1,760 steps that you cover. Well, 5 pounds times 1,700 steps is 8,800 pounds that you just moved, but 5 pounds every step. So if you think about that, almost 9,000 pounds moved just by moving a 5-pound plate with every step that I take. How much damage, quote unquote, good damage, does that put back into your body? Well, if you walk a mile every day, but you've never done it with an extra 5 pounds, you might feel your shins a little bit and you might feel a little pressure on your shoulders. But if you do that with 8 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds, eventually you build up to the point where you're carrying 10%, 15% of your body weight up and down hills, distributing that load between your hips and your shoulders. The axial loading pressure, basically from the base of your neck all the way to your feet, really does help maintain stressed structures to the bones. Is it going to increase your bone density? Probably not. You would have to carry a hell of a lot of weight. The resistance training is going to do that. What rucking does is it doesn't let you go backwards. It gets the cardiovascular component that you need, that's zone 2. You're outside, you're doing all those other great things that we talked about. You're putting enough stress through your body where your bone density is going to at least stay the same. I'm definitely not going backwards. And so that's where we might see this Instagram, world of everybody walking around their neighborhood with these 6-pound weight vests on, thinking they're doing enough to increase their bone density. They're not. You need to lift weights to increase your bone density. You need progressive overload. So much load that your body goes, damn, this is hard. I don't know how many times I can do this. 5, 6, 7, 8 times maybe. And then eventually kind of go, I can do like 10 or 12 of those now. And then eventually I can do 14 of those now. Hey, you've adapted. You've specifically adapted to an imposed demand. And that's something called the SAID principle, okay? Specific adaptation, imposed demand. Imposed demand, Heavy load, specific adaptation, more muscle binding sites, actin and myosin binding sites, or a more dynamic, stronger base of those. And your body does a great job of adapting. And that's the best example I can give you right there. Okay. Those are your mitts that your body naturally makes. If you work construction, if you work with your hands, if you lift weights, your hands go, ouch, this hurts. If I keep doing this, it doesn't feel good. And you're not wearing gloves. So what do we do? Because it's quite dangerous actually to wear gloves when you work out. It's better to just build your own gloves, build your mitts. So your body goes, well, let's throw some more skin down there and callus this thing up. And so you start to develop calluses and your hands don't hurt anymore and they can handle all the stress that you put in there. That's a new imposed demand is I'm moving this load around and I'm going to do it every day. It's like one time, let's give them blisters. 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. Oh, this is what we do now? Like every other day we do this? All right, we got to do something. We got to adapt. Let's get stronger muscles. Let's put more skin down there. Pop, 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 right? And now you got calluses. Your body does the same thing with your muscles. When I grab 10 pounds and I curl it, body's like, that's not very hard. And then I grab 20 and I'm like, oh man, that's really hard. Muscles are like, we can't do that a whole bunch of times. You continue to do that over and over again. You keep imposing that demand on the muscles. Eventually the muscles go, we got to adapt. He's going to keep doing this. We got to adapt. And it's the same thing when we're out rucking. If you're carrying 10 pounds and then 20 pounds and then 30 pounds, for me, 30 pounds, actually mine's like 38 pounds. I have a 40-pound plate that I put in there, but 38 pounds to be exact is the 10% of my body weight that I want. I'm not 400 pounds. That's 20% of my body weight. I'm big. I'm not that big. That's the 20% of my body weight that I want to be able to carry. And in doing that, I'm putting enough stress through my body with every step to help maintain bone density, but truly test and tax my cardiovascular system. So I use that as a base maintainer while I improve my heart. When I lift weights, I improve my muscles and my bones. And those two just go back and forth with every other day. And all the activity in between helps you stay capable, mobile, etc. Okay. So you want to get out there, you want different opportunities to do it. Axial loading is a big component to this. Ideal, as we talked about, for fat loss and maintaining, increasing your bone density, and it is okay to use hiking sticks. You actually want to use them as it is harder for your body to do it. It's more work, quote unquote, more work for you to do that. Use those sticks. If you have any balance issues, etc., it's great, but even just when climbing hills, it's actually quite a bit better for you. What's up, babe?
The question, I believe it's about lower back pain. That pain was left off. But how to prevent lower back pain when wearing a vest?
How to prevent lower back pain when wearing a vest. I don't know if there's a way to strictly do that. I would encourage you to wear a ruck. And that's the beauty of the ruck, is that the vest doesn't have a waist support strap where you can distribute load lower. The rucks do. A backpack does. You get a big thick belt that goes around the ruck and it sits up on your hips and you cinch it up and you can, in a sense, basically loosen the straps on the shoulders to where they're really not taking much load at all. They're just keeping the plate vertical on your back. And then you can ruck that way for a while. And then eventually you decide, all right, I'm ready to go do something different, or I'm ready to stress my shoulder blades a little more. I can loosen the hips and cinch up the straps and take more load there. So you'll see Keegan here has her ruck on and got a center strap that hooks between the two. There's no weight in this one. This is our backup one that we have. And so here are her hip straps. My head in the way. No, you can see. Yeah, wearing your puff jacket at the same time, and then click your center there. So now she's cinched in here real tight, and she's got a good distribution of load from each shoulder. I would say about 40%, and then 60% of the belt right over the high part of her iliac crest here. And so that load sits lower than most lower back pain comes about. That's where I can have the benefit of this, but not stress my lower back. That would be kind of the ideal approach. Get a Go Ruck. I think Go Ruck is the best. Everybody I'm recommending you, any product, anything, I have zero financial connection. We have zero financial connection to anybody. We don't make money off of products. I don't do business like that. No knock on anybody that does it. It's just not my thing. If that's your product, you should make money off it. If we have a partnership, usually it's, I get a free backpack and I talk about it or something like that. I just like telling people in my circle here what products are best. By far, the best ruck you're going to get in the industry, by far, like a freaking mile, is the Go Ruck backpack. The vests, different story. Hyperwear makes a fantastic vest, and that's this one right here. This Fit, and then the Pro. These are the two that they have here, the Fit and the Pro. Those are really, really good vests. Very, very comfortable, especially for the ladies. You don't have any weights over your actual chest. There's no plate. There's no pegs. There's no bars. There's nothing in here. It's just a mesh or a spandex kind of material. All the weights sit around your trunk, and that's so much better, in my opinion. We have, Keegan has a plate carrier, a Rogue plate carrier, and it's a lot. It's a lot of instability, and it's uncomfortable having that plate sit on your chest. And if you have a workout where you're like, hey, we're going to go bench press, I got to lay on this plate, and it's like miserably uncomfortable. But in the Hyperwear ones, you actually can. You can set up in those and have some good benefits. Rucking is a whole experience. It's a whole thing. I encourage you to go to my YouTube. I have a whole series in there, short answers, question 1, 2, 3, so on. Teaches you all about rucking. And then I've got 3 or 4 videos that are upwards of a half hour to an hour long. I show you all my gear. So if you really want to get into it, right, that's the way to go. But be very, very gradual with load. We've had clients that show up here and they're like, first time rucking, I went 60 pounds. And I'm like, I don't think so, Bob. That's not a good idea. And I took weights out of my backpack knowing I was going to be carrying some of that load back. And I was. And so you got to be careful. Don't go too heavy. Take 5 pounds, take 10 pounds in the beginning, and just go out and do a loop and come back. And if your body starts aching, just drop your weights off and keep going on your walks. And eventually you'll get to the point where you can do the full 2 or 3 miles or 40 minutes or whatever you're doing. And I have a whole article for you that I'm going to share. You can email me direct, or when we post this, we'll also post it there as a download. But feel free to email me. I'll just send it over. It's a little PDF, and it's 4 pages. It teaches you how to get started on rucking. As of course, I would love to spend more time on that, but we're coming up to the 15-minute marker here, and I want to make sure we get into these last a little bit. So staying strong, 3 days a week of our resistance training, 3 days a week of our rucking. So you see those 2 standards we have in there. And again, we're trying to improve and or maintain a really solid, long walking gait. And nothing really helps more than that than getting strong in the weight room and then practicing it out in the field, quote unquote, in the field of play when you're out rucking. We are using progressive overload and all that. We're doing it safely, and we are hitting our 32 minutes every day, okay? All right, so let's talk about avoiding injury at all costs. We'll go through this, and then we will answer questions. As you get older, concerns with injury. As you get older, the harder and the slower it is to recover and or go through rehabilitation from injuries. As you get older, the less bone dense you are, and the slower your bones grow back upon injury. The older you get, the easier it is to lose muscle mass, and the harder it is to maintain and or gain that muscle mass back. And the older you get, the more protein you need to rebuild both that bone and that muscle mass. Keeping that in mind, the continued concerns with injury is that falls, other than cardiovascular heart-related death, is the number one way older populations die. So either they have a heart attack or they fall. And basically, if you're 65 years of age, you're already at a 40% chance of becoming a fall risk victim. If you are under-muscled, you're a 55% chance risk. If you're under-muscled and you have bone density issues, you're a 70% chance. And then if you are under-muscled with bone density issues and you have a short gait, 80% chance that you're going to fall and die from that fall. And we don't mean that you fall, you shatter your femur, it cuts your carotid or your femoral artery, and you bleed out. Like that, I guess that could happen, but that's typically not what happens. You fall, you're in lots of pain. In some cases, people don't find you right away. So you're super dehydrated, and or some people, it leads to a stroke or a heart attack or anything else can come about. But when they do find you, they bring you to the hospital, they start to rebuild you, and then you go, okay, your hip is shattered, your leg is shattered, you're going to be bedridden for the next 6 to 8 months as we try to rehab you here, and you're 70 years old, you have no muscle mass, you have super soft bones, and you're just stuck here by yourself all the time, attempting to try to do any kind of rehab, and it hurts, everything hurts. You just lose the desire to live. And a lot of folks are just like, this is impossible for me to recover. I have nothing to work with. Where if you were super strong bone dense, you were up hanging up the Christmas lights, you fell off the roof and you broke your femur, in 6 weeks, you could be back to walking and rebuilding because you have such a great base that you've already built from, that a break like that, it would take something that big, falling off the roof, to do it. You're not going to take a step because a dog started to run at you and your leg's going to snap in half like that client of mine. So we know that those are our concerns, that if a fall occurs, you're already under the gun here. You're already 50%, 40% chance things are going to go poorly. And we need to start to combat that right now. No matter what age you are, we got to start doing something. You've already, committed to watching this webinar. So we're doing good stuff. You're going to see your gait get smaller for sure. That's a greater fall risk. Your feet will get weaker. And this could be arthritic. It could be neuropathy based, where you start to lose feeling, sensation, ability, agility of your feet and your hands. Both of these work together in that. And you'll become a greater fall risk because of it. When you're more kyphotic, curved forward, tucked posture we talked about earlier, you're already leaning in the direction of the majority of falls. It's 44% forward, 41% backwards, and then it's 37%. I know that math doesn't make sense, but you have a combo of forward and back. The other 13% or whatever it is straight out to the side or some mixture of a lateral fall. But majority of falls, again, 44% or so forward, 41 backwards. We've got to get good at stopping ourselves from going forward and back dynamically. But if you're already kyphotic and leaning forward and tucked that way, the risk of going in that direction is quite high. And then your blood pressure. The higher your blood pressure is, the greater your risk of fall. And that's because your high blood pressure is an indicator that overall the body is not operating and running at a premium. Strategies to avoid your injury. Get strong, stay strong, daily activity. I think we've hit all that really good. Let's get stronger feet. Let's improve our longer gait. Let's work on standing up our posture taller. Let's practice sit to stands on the regular. Here's a great one for you to take note of. My dad was really good at this. Anytime he would get up from the lazy boy, he would do 3 sit to stands. Get up, sit down, get up, sit down, get up, sit down, get up. And then he would go to the bathroom and go get whatever he was going to get. And then when he came back, he'd do 3 more. And that was a regular thing for him. He would get up and down, 20, 30 times a day. So he'd end up doing 60 to 120 sit-to-stands every day. But they were just spread out regularly. And what that does is it helps you, quote, not sit down for too long. Because then again, lack of blood flow, you're in all the wrong postures, tailbone tucked, rounded shoulders, etc. So now you're practicing moving up and down in one of the most common positions we're in all the time, and it really benefits your lower body strength. The stronger your legs, the longer you live. The more muscle you have on your legs, the better your brain functions, the better your cognitive health, and the prolonged expectation of life as well. So having muscle mass is a great goal, but specifically having lower body muscle mass is really going to assist us in all the goals we're trying to achieve here. Remove or minimize trip hazards. This is a tough one because we can't control everything, obviously, but avoid dogs running at you, animals running at you, that kind of thing as best you can. If you know you're a trip hazard, don't walk by the dog park, right? Like more than likely somebody's going to lose their dog, something's going to come running at you. The reason I bring that up probably 4 or 5 times now is the same client I've had blow her knee out twice, both from her same dog. And it's like, stop doing this, Ruth. Like we have these issues that keeps happening here. You got to stop that. We've had a lot of clients hurt themselves, including my sister, right here on our property, got taken out by a dog, literally thrown off the ground, landed on her back, broke one of her vertebrae, one of the facet joints, the little wings on her vertebrae, laid here until our very handsome firefighter neighbor came. And then all of a sudden she was fine and smiling. Checking your eyes and ears every year, making sure you're hearing well. That helps in equilibrium and balance. Your eyesight is good if you have blind spots or if you're in need of bifocals and you're not using them. All this leads to fall components. Checking your blood sugar levels. If your blood sugar is low or too high, this can make you dizzy or nauseous, etc., make you not aware of where you are walking or just lose your balance, etc. Staying hydrated also can lead to the same issue. And then cross-checking your medications to make sure they're not making you dizzy, and if they are, to try to remedy that in somehow. And then the last one is practice moving in multiple directions. In the very beginning, when we start resistance training, typically we do it in a sagittal, that means straight in front of you, fashion to start. Every machine, every basic activity that we do is kind of like straight ahead. Push forward, pull back, press your legs out, pull them back. It's all very sagittal because that's where the majority of life kind of occurs for us. But as you get stronger and build a stronger base, you want to start moving in multiple different directions, start expanding that out a little bit. This is a great line from Peter Attia. Grip strength itself is a proxy for overall strength. This is acquired strength, not inherited. That means your grip is a very good indicator of what kind of overall strength and overall health you're in, right? And that's the beauty of having a grip strength dynamometer test that can just give you an idea of where your grip strength is, and then train for 6 months and come back and see if it's improved or decreased. Now, there's tricks around that, obviously. You could just, go grab a grip strengthening tool and just sit there and watch Matlock every night and squeeze away to increase your strength, but that's not the purpose for what we're utilizing this. We want to use your grip strength as the indicating measure, a very quick, easy, efficient, cheap way, right? Inexpensive way to test you. Not that the dynamometers are cheap, they're expensive, but an efficient way, an effective way for you to be able to get that number and go, where am I now compared to 3 months ago, 6 months ago, et cetera. And this is a great special with Peter at T. I'm going to show you more of this in just a second, but I put some of the grip strength tools on here to really help you with improving your grip strength, not only flexing, but extending with the rubber bands, et cetera. Feel free to reference back to those. I will see if we can put those in the show notes as well to give you the links to that. In developing your foot strength, we have something called the Vel leaning foot drill. That's what the girl with the A above her name, she's doing. You just stand up nice and straight, lean forward, hold for 5 seconds and come back and push your big toe down as hard as you can every time you do that. Eventually hold weights while you do it. What you're shooting for is 25 pounds of pressure under your big toe. You want to be able to push your big toe down with at least 25 pounds of pressure, because that on average, when stepping backwards or forward, is the amount of toe strength, ground reaction, toe strength you need on the ground to stop your body from falling forward or falling backwards. A very easy way to measure that, probably not the most accurate, but to just measure it to see what you're at, is take your weight scale that you would stand on to check your body weight, just put your toe on there and push down and see what that number comes up to. Let's say it says 40 pounds and you're like, hey, I made it 25. Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. It's probably weaker than that because of the angle you're doing this on, et cetera. But it seems silly to go out and buy a foot dynamometer for you to do this twice a year. But you could use that as a basic way to say, okay, it's 40 now, and 6 months from now, it's 62. I've definitely got stronger feet. That's all we need to know is it getting better? And then, do you want to show off your amazing toes? Real quick, Keegan's got this amazing 45-degree angle of toe flexion that she can break out here for you. We'll let everybody see this here really quick. This is a envious level of toe range of motion. Yeah.
Those, by the way, Cindy.
What's that?
One of those people, Cindy.
Right there. Come back a little bit. Right there. Okay, watch those toes. And up she goes. Look at that. Look at that range of motion. That's like Olympic level toe flexion right there. Woo! That is really healthy, very strong feet. Thank you, babe. You're a great Vanna White, toe Vanna White. That is exceptional toe flexibility. That's what we're looking for, is your toes to be able to pull up that high. That means you have good toe break, which means when you're lunging, taking steps, et cetera, you can have the ability to rescue those falls and have good flexibility in your toes to do so. And so those are your goals: 25 pounds of pressure down, 45 degrees or so of range up. And another way to help your toe strength is to just put a towel down, put your toes on top of it, and try to crunch the towel up into the arch of your foot. All right, I give you a whole list of hygiene here for sleep, but really the goal is try to find consistent routines of sleeping. Lights are off, noises are minimum unless you need white noise backgrounds. Make sure that's the same. Try not to eat 2 to 3 hours or drink 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed, so you minimize how often you have to get up to go to the restroom. Minimal to no alcohol. Make sure the room is dark and cold and you've got yourself all bundled up. The colder the room, the better you sleep in many cases. And try not to nap. These are big problems throughout the day. Your body starts to think, hey, it's time to shut it down. And then 20 minutes later, no, wake back up. And it never really knows when to shut down and like truly go into hibernative, like your REM sleep. You want to just save that for nighttime. And like we mentioned earlier, even if you're tired, you don't feel good, etc., still try to exercise, because it's only going to help you in the next night, right, when you're attempting to go to sleep. Last couple of slides here: hydration, cognition, nutrition, supplements. There's all kinds. We could do a talk on each one of these, but big takeaways: make sure you're getting enough protein. This is really difficult to do as we get older. It's just statistically, it's a harder thing for people to get into their body. You would think, like, how is it any different than when you're younger? There's a curve in appetite, and as far as I've seen via the research, it's more of a carb craving adaptation than it is a protein or acidic, amino acid base response. Your body craves the carbohydrates in more of a cognitive support the brain than the body kind of mindset. So we need to make specific efforts to do that. If you have supplement goals, talk to your doctor first, but creatine is a very big takeaway. I would encourage everybody to take that. It is the most researched supplement on earth. It's extremely safe. The only negative to it is if you take too much, it'll give you the poops. I found that out the hard way when I was scooping out my 50 grams of protein in the dark and realized it was creatine a few hours later, the mistake I had made. 50 plus grams of creatine is not great. And for the next 2 days, I found that out pretty much every hour on the hour. So learn from that lesson. Proper hydration, make sure you're getting a lot of water, replenish those electrolytes, and cognitive health. Of course, everything we've been talking about helps encourage your brain, but more than puzzles, more than Sudoku, you need social engagements. You need something to be invested in. You need hobbies. You need something that stimulates your brain. You need to probably not consume a lot of alcohol, right? I know that sucks, especially if you're California and you like wine and et cetera, et cetera. If you're really thinking about what's best for your body, okay, we really encourage you to focus there. So be active every day, forever. This is what you do now. You are active for 32 minutes minimum every single day. And your goal is every other day, EOD, every other day, your resistance training rucking, that as a bare minimum, or whatever other activities you want to do. But if it's bone density and muscle mass, being in the pool isn't going to help you a lot. You're actually about 1/8 of your body weight in the water. So you want to be on the earth and you want to be putting stress through your body if those are the goals. Swimming is great for mobility and flexibility and cardio and all of that. I'm not poo-pooing it. But if you're trying to get stronger and get more bone density to you, you got to be on the earth with load in hand and let gravity do its thing. Develop that foot and hand strength as often as you can. Work on that. And then all of your hygiene, sleep and supplements and nutrition and all that, be as good to your body as you can. And really focus on good footwear as well. That helps a lot with fall reductions. Please don't wear shoes that you slide your feet into. Those are huge indicators and huge causes for falling as to why someone fell. Often they trip over their own shoe coming off. Other resources to look at here, you'll see Outlive with Peter Attia. That's probably the best book on the market, one of my absolute favorites. You'll see Andy Galpin and Gabrielle Lyon and Huberman and Stuart McGill and everybody else. There's many great doctors out there who have written some fantastic books, and coaches as well, Mike Boyle, Lane Norton, etc. Peter Attia was on 60 Minutes. It was a 20-minute clip. They did like a 23 different topics in one night. So it's not a huge watch, but it is a really good watch. You get a chance to see him take his host that's with him there through all of this and talk about it all. Really great takeaway. And then my personal strategies, I just want to throw them up here for you to see really quick. Resistance training that works for you, a style of training that works for you. There's lots of different variations. Find one that works for you. I've tried many in the past and have recently found one that really responds well to my body, and I've been embracing that. Your zone 2 rucking component, whatever it might be for you, continue that. Your daily quality of life practices, like make sure you're getting enough sleep. Learn this one the hard way, getting shingles at age 42, learning the lesson the hard way. Pushing my body too much, not getting enough sleep, stressing out, all of that. It just did so much damage. My body kind of collapsed in on itself, immune system attacked itself, and all of a sudden I had a huge shingles outbreak on my face. It was rough while on vacation, believe it or not. And then number 4 is rest, relaxation, and family time. Really value your time away from work when you're working, but dive into your hobbies, dive into your family times, all of that. And then number 5 is having a daily practice of faith. Something that I feel very strongly about is when you are committed to a daily faith practice, it connects over to your daily fitness practice as those two just bind and build each other to be even stronger across the board. Hopefully to have more to do on that in the future. All right, team. So if you enjoyed this, please let us know in the comment section below. I know that was a lot of information. What I don't want to do is ever have somebody leave one of my webinars and go, this was a sales pitch, or he didn't tell me anything new. I always want you to leave going, man, I didn't know that. Oh, this is a new action plan that I can put into. If you ever want to train with me or sign up to do something with me, awesome. I wanted to make the last 64 minutes of your time worth it. And so I hope I delivered that for you. I hope you can walk away from this going, I got a pretty good idea of what I need to do, or I'm really glad I'm doing all these things. Here's a couple of more things I could do to make it even better, right? This is always a daily practice. We're always getting a little bit. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice, and you need to do it on a regular basis because if we practice how we play, we will always perform, at our best. On game day, kind of the sports analogies, if you will, Phil Jackson, etc. You need to practice on these daily routines, these daily practices, just like you would do it on a competition day where everybody's watching you. If you do that consistently in the gym when nobody else is here, those are the things that really pay off, but nobody sees them. And so that's where thinking about my sleep quality and what am I eating? And yes, it's just an extra handful of chips, but that's 200 calories. And I'm super guilty of that one, right? It's those kinds of things that really can go a long way. If you want that article, please email us. Again, we'll post it with the recording too. And say it again.
I'll send it out.
Okay, yeah, Keith says she'll send it out. And yeah, let's dive into the questions.
Question from Pat, if you repeat it.
You want to come over? Just slide over here. You don't have to. Okay. Question from Pat.
Best way to gain leg strength without heavy weights at home. Can you really gain enough muscle mass in legs with 35 to 45 pound kettlebells with squats, etc.?
Yes, absolutely. You sure can. The amount of load. So let's say you pick up 35 pounds 10 times and you're like, piece of cake. That was super easy. If you pick it up and go down really slow, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unload, pick it up again and do that 10 times, your legs will be screaming and burning at you. And you're like, wow, that was different, right? But with the same load. But eventually even that will get too easy. And once we get over, I would say a rate of perceived exertion, an RPE of like 7, where you're kind of like, okay, this is good. I always sweat, but I'm not really struggling. It's not an 8, 9, 10. Like once you're kind of below into that, then you probably graduate to the next load. And so for most people, just starting off into this, 15 pound, 25 pound kettlebells will do great for them. When you get into 35s, 45s, you're working with some good load. When you get up to like 60s and 70s, you're pretty damn strong. And I would say as long as you can keep doing that, you will maintain a very good stress of bone density and a very good amount of muscle mass on you that will serve you probably the rest of your life. Because at some point, you're like, I don't have to keep getting stronger. I just need to keep that strength. Because remember the curve? Remember the curve where it was like slowly going down? If yours just never goes down, if it just stays horizontal the whole time, then you're always, every 5 years that you graduate to a new bracket, you're always a little higher per capita. Like you're always going to be adequately muscled, as you get older. So yes, I think you can really do some great things there. But at some point you may go, okay, this is a good level of strength. Could I do a little bit more with a heavier load? Go for it. I see no problem in investing in your health by buying some more kettlebells for home. And not everybody's going to turn their garage into a studio like I did, but having a good set of weights at home is going to serve you well. And you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to buy a gym membership, all that stuff. Buy some good bells. Have a good setup there, and there's all kinds of different variables you can do. The Bunker does a great job of that. We have all kinds of different programs that we do online where we give you probably the same consistent loads and different ways to train it to still challenge you. So little plug for the Bunker there if you want to ever check that out. All right, next question.
No.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Lots of good comments in here. Talked about the lower back. Eccentrics, yep. Amy, that's a good one, especially with the kyphosis on the posterior chain. And I love seeing where everybody's from. All right, gang. Well, if there are any other questions, feel free to throw them in here. If not, yes, Kate, we will have this up on YouTube. We're going to post this all over the place because we do want as many people to see this information as we can. And if you get the chance to share it with a family member, you feel like it was a good delivery and you're like, man, my mom should hear this, or my grandma, or whoever, it is never too late. They can always make great improvements. My dad started training with me at 74. He passed at 77, and he was at the absolute best of his ability in the last 20 years of his life at 77 years old. My dad at 50, at 77, would have ran laps around the 50-year-old him. Like he had made drastic improvements in his quality of life to one point where we thought like dad's losing it. His cognition is starting to go. He was able to build his body back to where it actually improved his brain function. And he came out of this slump of brain fog that we thought like he was starting to slip away. It's really amazing how great it is. And thank you, Amy. Yes, Keegan is the powerhouse behind all this, does all the little things that nobody ever gets to see, from the emails and the website and the uploads and announcing everything and putting it all out here. We are a really good team. And she's just fantastic, but never really gets a spotlight. So I do like to point that out. So thank you for bringing that up, Amy. All right, team. Richard, thank you for the comment. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, team. We appreciate you all. If you're celebrating Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you're celebrating Hanukkah right now, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays to everybody out there. Happy New Year. Let's make this end of 2025, start of 2026 as fantastic as it can be. We appreciate you all. Thank you for being a part of the community here with us, with TOA, with FitBody Forever, and everybody else in between. Thank you all so much. Until next time, please continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia, and we will see you on the next one. Take care, everybody.